Good afternoon, and welcome to the Tennessean's Business Webcast. We're here on another Tuesday afternoon, and we are joined, as always, by Lora Stevenson and with Kia Jarmon. We appreciate both of you joining us today. Today we're going to be talking actually about sort of the concept of a mobile work environment. It's especially among millennials in the workplace becoming more of a topic, a desire to get outside of sort of the four walls and outside of the cubicle, and not only just be able to potentially work from home, but also to be able to look at work structures and work environments a little bit different. I can share with you that in the journalism world, there's actually a controversy over a surfing sabbatical. A reporter in the Northeast is taking a year off to go surfing. And I think some of her colleagues are a bit shocked that the company would allow such an endeavor. But that is just sort of one extreme example of the kind of things that are now being talked about that maybe weren't talked about 15, 20 years ago in the workplace. And as we come out of the recession, it's something that, in order to keep and retain top talent, I think will be an even bigger concern as we move forward. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about, and maybe to start with this question about, the rising role of millennials in the workplace, and things that business owners should be keeping in mind as they look to balance the needs of different generations in the workplace, and what are some of the specific things that millennials in the workplace issues that may come along that we may not have encountered before with other generations.
Well, I'll take part of the question. I think one of the things that we're seeing with millennials that are a little bit different is this perception that they know how to be social and do social media and use technology. And so many times they're hired for that reason. However, it's really important that you're still training those individuals to know how to use those devices to be better for your work environment. I think that that's one misconception that I get a lot of times is hearing that, oh, I hired someone to do my social media and they don't know how to do it. I hired someone to run a camera and they don't know how to operate it. So it's really important that we are not overcompensating with, and we're having conversations with those individuals we decide to hire in our workplace.
I would say I agree. There's a large switch, I think, too, in millennials' perception about whether there's a line between where work ends and life begins, or home life, versus your work life. I think there's much more comfort with transparency, both in their social lives and in their work lives. And I think there's a great deal of desire and pride. We see often social entrepreneurship talked about as a millennial, a new faction, but I think part of that is the comfort, the transparency, the familiarity with social conversations makes wanting to be proud of what the organization you work for or your own organization really important and vital to their quality of life.
Absolutely.
Now, you talked a little bit about your own workplace and talking about your companies and its development. Could you talk a little bit about, if, as a business owner, maybe taking a look at their own business and saying, how do you start that conversation of what your culture is like, and how do you start that conversation of what it should be like, and how we should look at incorporating the thoughts about being more mobile and more open to different work environments and work structures?
Well, I guess I'd say it all has to do with context, right? If you're creating coffee mugs and selling them, then a virtual work environment may not be possible, or may not be possible for everyone you employ. I think in the tech industry, oftentimes as a part of the service end of the tech industry, we have some choices and a lot of headlines right now, right? Because we're adopting some new practices before perhaps manufacturing or insurance or finance. But I also think a lot of it, we do get a chance to work through that experimentation, right? And at the end of the day, if you have clients or patients or customers, whatever that, or an end user, it's still all about whether you're delivering a value in exchange for $1 if you're in business. And so I care less, for my organizations about where someone is, but that doesn't mean that I'm not concerned about security. And I care less about whether they're sitting in an office for a certain number of hours a day than I do about the work that gets accomplished. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it starts with conversation. If you know that you're hiring actively millennials and you're actively employing those individuals, it's about asking them what makes sense. And then of course, as Laura said, based on the context of the industry, what I'm seeing more in some of the techie industries here, specifically in Nashville, we have a company who is really about the ROW model, which is the results only work week. And that really a work environment, and that only works in a graphic design, tech industry. Still have to be available during work hours, but you can work from home. You can work from a local collaborative community like we have here in Nashville. So it's really important that you're having the conversation first and foremost, and then you're also framing that to make sense for those individuals who you decide to bring in to the culture of your company.
Okay. And let's say you have a culture that may be more traditional, more sort of the 9 to 5, and make sure you're seen at your desk a certain number of hours. And if you have a workforce that is more traditional and sort of brought up in that, how do you integrate potentially new models into that and balance potential jealousy or frustration or things that may come up from folks that aren't as comfortable either having that new environment or maybe having a new model thrust upon them?
Slowly. It's all about internal communications is so vital to these type of introductions of new cultures, if you will, and having conversations with people. The other part of it is allowing them to be accountable for their time. Sometimes when you sit there at your desk for an hour, 9 to 5, very stringent on people, it makes it easier for them to cut off at 5 o'clock, but harder for you to make sure that at 6 o'clock when a client, a customer calls, that they're invested. And so you have to find that balance of giving them enabling them to love the culture that you're in, but slowly letting it integrate and having their voice in it. Just because you listen to your internal community, your employees, doesn't mean you'll integrate everything that they say into the model. It just means that you cared and you at least gave it a listen. And then if it doesn't make the chopping block, no problem. At least there you can say you've listened to everyone.
One of the things that often hear from small business owners especially is just how invested, for obvious reasons, how invested they are in their own company and how work-life balance is tough. And I'm sure both of you probably deal with those issues. Do you have advice for especially small business owners or folks that are running their company, taking a look at their own schedules and their own balance and trying to find that? I don't think they're ever going to find a 4-hour work week as the book entails, but maybe do you have some advice for small business owners to be thinking about, okay, I need to find time, or I'm not going to be, or my company's not going to be successful in the long run. Can you offer some advice to help folks that may be struggling trying to find that balance?
Yeah, well, I will say, I think that, back to Laura's point, the context of it, the industry of it makes a difference. Working in the music industry, I got texts all times of day and night, weekends and things like that. But working with nonprofits, at 6 o'clock, I can now shut it down. And while I'm still working, I definitely can have my thoughts to myself. I can be more proactive in doing more things within the business instead of working on client work and things like that. So I definitely think you have to figure out what industry you're in, analyze that, and then definitely figure out what you can do, whether that's taking off Saturdays, whether that's cutting the phone off, doing yoga early in the morning, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, I think as the economy is obviously taking a shift, and there are more conversations around quality of life. Period. I think everyone is kind of discussing or taking a look at what does that mean to them. I think that's a very individualized thing. As a business owner, it may be chicken and egg some days as to whether you're thinking about, what does my family need first versus what does my business have to have first. But I think strategizing around that, both with your family and with your business, makes a lot of sense. Writing it down, communicating it to other people that you work with, as well as your family, certainly helps. And as well, I think a great deal as we look at transparency being adopted in a lot of workplaces, just to be able to have those conversations and those lines about, what's comfortable, what isn't. what do we discuss, what isn't, as well as, what's the goal? If your business's goal is to make the best coffee mugs in the world, right, then that's going to drive your workday a lot differently than somebody who's a small business owner, family farmer.
Okay. Well, we've talked a lot about, looking at things like flexible work schedules and creating more transparency. If you're a business, though, that is just starting to look at that, can you talk a little bit about, maybe some first steps that they should be thinking about before they just go, okay, we'll see you next week?
Well, I thought a really good friend of mine, Nancy Van Rees, is the social media, I think, website coordinator from the National Symphony. And one of the things I know she says in her workshops with nonprofit clients or arts organizations is that, your external dialogue is going to reflect your internal dialogue. So I really feel like if you aren't having comfortable conversations with people that you work with now, addressing that is maybe best done internally first before you start to take that conversation out. And I think that goes as well with your customers or end users, patients, whoever it is that you're serving. If you're not spending time constantly asking how your business can improve, what a customer's experience was like, it may be shocking for some business owners to start hearing that and online in front of others. So thinking about those things ahead of time, I think will really help. And then, you know more than I do, but probably growing a thick skin right around PR and communications.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly think growing some parameters, and as Lora said, having that conversation internally first. Sometimes we're giving a lot of ourselves, saying, I want to be open 7 days a week, but our customers or our clients don't need that from us. And so having that conversation with them to say, do you need us to be open 7 days a week? And they say, no, we just need you 5. Perfect. That's great. So now we're only going to be open 5 days a week, and slowly integrating that into everything that you do, whether it's every phone call, the voicemail machine, the website, on Facebook. They give you the opportunity to do that. Make sure that you're just communicating all of those changes through as many mediums as you can, in your email address, all that stuff.
Okay. And we talk about this, implementing something like this. Can we talk a little bit maybe about some safeguards or some concerns that you need to be watching, maybe as you go through a trial period or test these ideas out? Do you have some practical ideas that business owners can use to measure the success or failure, or just kind of things that they need to be watching for, that might be areas of concern?
Well, again, I think one of the things is, this is the same in a lot of sense as going to the street corner and starting a conversation, right? You're not going to know who's going to walk up and engage you, or what their agenda is, or even whether they're potentially a client for you. So I think there is a great deal of sophistication. Maybe we don't see examples of it all the time on social media, but there's a great deal to learn when it comes to engaging with the public, period. I'm not great, I don't think, on Twitter, because I'm not very pithy. And Twitter really lends itself to very short, abbreviated, simple communications. If that's not your medium, that's fine. If your customers are there and need you to engage there, right, then that's probably going to be worthwhile to plan in advance. But I think that's the risk, is, right, we're sort of opening up a dialogue. We don't know who we're going to be talking with. So being able to take on a conversation, it's going to require a lot of skills.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an internal conversation first. I mean, your employees or just the stakeholders in your company are the first customers that you have. So having that conversation with them first, but then also listening. And my listening strategy is sometimes just looking at my customers, looking at my clients, looking at those individuals who make decisions within my company, and listening to what they're saying. And if they're telling me we're okay with X, Y, and Z decision that you've made, then I'm okay with it too. Great. Check that one off the list. So I think that's the way, is just having those conversations on both sides of the coin, internal and external.
There was a horrible example of this from a restaurant out of Boston a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, a patron on Thanksgiving Day had a bad experience and complained about it on the restaurant's Facebook page. And what followed was a really ugly, disheartening conversation online, in public, on the Facebook page, not just from the patron, but from someone who claimed to be the chef and the owner of the restaurant. And there's, as you can imagine, a great deal of condemning, right, on both sides of that. And I feel for both of those folks, right, because our businesses are much more likely to improve if we can hear from the people who are buying or using the services that we sell.
Very good, very good. Well, we appreciate so much you sharing those thoughts with us and helping us try to figure out as we look into the workforce of the future and how we can create an environment that will help build our businesses and help grow our community. So we appreciate it so much. Please stay tuned for more business webcast. We're here every Tuesday at 3 o'clock, and you can also go to Tennessean.com to view all the archives of all of our previous episodes. From the Tennessean Newsroom, I'm Lance Williams. Thanks so much.